everybody, it is Mondy here from Live Love Hoop, and I'm very excited to do this live Q&A with Lila, Chupa Hoops today. So if you are watching this on the replay, can you comment where you're from? Comment your country so we know where you're watching us from. And if you are on here live, please let us know that is everything's working okay. Let me know, add a comment so we can see you. Hey, hello everybody. Let me know that everything is working okay. Let me know you can hear me okay. That would be really, really helpful. So Lila is going to join us in just a minute, but before she jumps on, I just wanted to let you guys know about my free challenge, which starts on Wednesday, so tomorrow. It's called From Hoop Lover to Hoop Teacher, and it is a free 3-day challenge where you can learn some really amazing practical top tips on how to take that first step into becoming a hoop teacher. So it's perfect for you if you're someone who's not feeling very confident, like you'd love to teach hoop, but you're not sure if you're ready to do it yet, or like you haven't been hooping long enough, or you don't know enough tricks, that kind of thing. That's what the free challenge is for, to help give you that confidence and help you take that next step. So if that's something you want to do, just comment challenge in the comments. It should send you an automated link. If it doesn't work, just go to my profile, click on the link, or just send me a message and I'll hook you up. I think we've got 110 hula hoopers signed up so far, which is amazing. So come and join us, that'll be fab. And then on Monday, the 18th of March, that's when I'm going to launch my hoop teacher training. So that's my 8-week course, the hoop certification, which is all about, well, obviously very in-depth breaking down of how to teach hula hooping, how to set up your own hoop business, that kind of thing. And to bring it back together, Lila, Chupa Hoops, will be teaching a guest workshop on that hoop teacher training, which is one of the reasons I've asked her to come and join me today. So her workshop is going to be about how to create your very first hula hoop act, create and sell, market your hoop act. She is an expert in all of this. That's why I've asked her to come back time and time again. I think this will be the 4th year that she's come and taught this workshop. So yeah, if you're interested in that, send me a message, keep following me, join the challenge. I'm going to add Lila in now and we can ask her your questions. Oh, thanks to everyone telling me it's all working okay. We'd love to hear it. All right, let's add the watching live. Make sure you just comment them and we will come back to them and answer them, hopefully. All right, Lila is here. Lila. Hi.
Wrong way.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Oh, lovely to see your face.
Yeah, I love your shirt. You're so colorful.
Thank you. It's quite 70s. I'm going with the 70s vibe today, I think. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing? How's your work life at the minute? Are you really busy? Are you in a downtime? What's going on?
Well, I'm not super busy because I have a kind of like steady gig every Sunday at the theater. It's very new for me to work more in a play than a show. So it's very interesting. And because of this, I take some time during the week to work on new costumes and just training. So I really love those like 2 or 3 months of not having just constantly having to travel for gigs. So yeah, I'm a very good place.
And you've been doing some hoop history as well?
Yes, it's been like 3 years now, and I still discover new things, building up my little hoop museum. And every time I say, oh yeah, I'm gonna write a book or something, but it's probably I will do that when I stop performing. I just keep the academic work for later.
Yeah.
If I get an injury, I will have the time for this.
Excellent. And when is the Hoop Museum open? When do we get to buy tickets to come and visit your Hoop Museum?
Well, it's in my home for now, but I hope to travel with it. That would be amazing to have like a case and just like travel with this hoop museum that opens.
Amazing. That sounds great. Okay, so getting back into what we are talking about today, which is about hoop performance. I wanted to hear a little bit about your sort of background in creating your first hoop act. So I know you've told me before, but you basically had only just been hooping a little while. Is that right? Before you started performing in the first place?
Yes, I have a very interesting journey with hooping because my first stage performance was maybe 3 months after I started hooping. It was very, very early, and I was not a performer myself. Like I've never danced or done any circus or anything. I just saw a show when I was traveling, a burlesque show, and I just told myself, I want to do this with my hula hoop. And I had absolutely no experience but I don't know, a little voice in my head told me to do it. And my first performance was not a choreographed act. I had like prepared something, but it was on a DJ's music, which felt, I would say, more comfortable in the beginning. And the first time I performed on stage, where I chose the music, made a costume, and all the deeds, it was probably a year after I started hooping, but only a year. So that was, but I don't know. When I was younger, I think I was maybe fearless.
I
So
think that's
yeah.
good. Good. I mean, how many, like, if you imagine approximately, how many tricks do you think you knew? If you were just hooping for 3 months, would you know like 10 tricks maximum or what?
Oh yes, maximum. I think, I mean, I was like doing it on my waist. I could already do shoulder hooping. I must say it came quite quickly for me. And, escalator, isolation. But you need to think that 14 years ago, you're doing an isolation and people were like blown away. I'm still now, actually.
Mhm.
So, you
Absolutely.
know,
I remember the best move that we had at that sort of time was like dipping your hands into the hoop really fast. And everyone would be like, yeah. And now we have like the coin flips, the chest rolls, everything. But I think we forget like watching on YouTube all of these amazing, or Instagram, all these amazing hula hoopers, that actually someone who's never seen hula hooping before, and isolation and waist hooping is amazing.
yeah, I have this feeling like I started for many years performing in amateur shows in front of an audience that, I mean, I have nothing to prove, or like I don't have any pressure, but it was not my job at the time. Like I had another job. So for me, it was all about having fun and showing what I can do, but I didn't have the pressure. And the audience, because they were not hoopers, or they had not seen a lot of hoopers in their life, they were like losing their mind for anything. So it was a very good way for me to start, like being free and not having the pressure of the tricks at
Mhm.
all.
I think it's reassuring for people to hear that, because I think when you first get started, you think you have to do the most complicated things, but actually, a lot of the time, it's more about going with the music and doing things like throwing your hoop up really high in the air, or so you can start off as a beginner quite, with quite basic kind of tricks.
Yes, definitely. I started for many years just hooping, performing with only one hoop, and just adding extra hoop and doing all the circus style came much later.
So you're saying it like when you first got started, you felt quite, I guess, relaxed about it and fearless. Was there anything that you found particularly difficult when you first got started?
Hmm.
Or did that
That was
come
actually
later?
the hardest question because when I remember my early years, it was, yeah, having fun and not having any pressure. But I would say the hardest was to actually find some sort of like structure in my hula hoop act. I would just like take maybe one hoop and then two and then back to one. And I see this a lot also on like open stage shows sometimes where people they hardly make like logical choices when they perform. They just just do one and two and then go back to one or like repeat some trick that we've seen before, which sometimes is good to do repetition, but you can see that there's no structure in the act. I think I was doing those type of things when I started that did not make a lot of sense. And also thinking about the progression of the act and finding like a climax. And because you didn't perform a lot, you don't have necessarily you don't know how the audience is going to react. And with experience, oh, this tricks works really well with this audience. And you just get, better response the more you perform.
For sure. And do you think what would be the hardest thing for you now creating a hoop act? Is it because you've got different kinds of pressures? You feel like it's more intense now because you're a professional and people expect more of you?
Well, definitely the pressure is here. And um, for me, it's more like you have to make choices. And because back then I was so free, I would just do what I want. I was very creative. But now when I work, especially like for corporate gigs, it tends to be like, I don't want to say flat, but I express less. persona. That's my opinion. Like I try to please everybody, and by doing that, I feel like, okay, I'm gonna do this trick, this trick, this trick because it works really well, and it has to be family friendly. Everybody needs to be happy in the end, and we all tend to do the exact same thing. We have to be pretty, we have to have glitter, and it's not that what I want to do all the time. So I do it because that's my job and that brings me income. But actually, I perform a lot still in more like alternative places or like burlesque shows, which pays a lot less. But for me, it's my way to be creative. And in those places, I feel free to just like propose something new with my hoops. So I really need those places to like keep my creativity. And the second thing that is hard now is to maintain those skills. And as I said, I don't have any circus background. I didn't learn the discipline of working my body. I just started hooping like anybody, and I didn't work out. I don't like to do sports at all. Like I'm not a sporty person. Like believe me, I'm flexible because my body is naturally flexible, but I hate to train. And I mean, I hate to train those like,
Yeah.
and you have to do the box and the split, and those requires discipline. And when you don't train regularly, you kind of like lose those skills. And I'm like, oh my God, if I need to perform for like 10 more years, that means I need to maintain the skills for 10 years. And
And you don't want to get injured as well because your body is your life and your career, and you don't want to like, oh, I'll just do the box splits with no training, and suddenly you've, ripped your
yeah.
hip flexor or something. You
So
got
I
to
have to
keep active.
find like right balance when I go training is like warming up and stretching and maintaining the skills. But then I'm gonna feel guilty because I didn't even like work on flow and creativity. So you really need to balance all the things together.
That's the question for you, actually. How would you say you plan out like your training in that sense? Like you've got performances to work towards, you've got to balance your skills, but you also want to have some fun. Do you sort of schedule it in? Do you go loosely, like whatever happens, happens? How does it kind of come about?
So I would say like when I have busy weeks with like multiple gigs and different acts, I need to rehearse my acts. I need to work on my like stamina and my core strength. So these will go like in priority. And if I have more time, like right now, I can just like spend 2 hours just like maybe learning one trick. That's what I did yesterday. I watched some rhythmic gymnastics videos, telling myself, okay, what can I try? Not a lot of things, but I spent, I literally spent 2 hours just trying two moves. But I was just happy to just like try something new, and I wasn't pressured by like I have to rehearse this and that. So, but generally I try in a week to have a little bit of everything, like a little bit of more like body training, a little bit of rehearsing, a little bit of just flow and trying new things. But in when I have busy times, I just focus on the
Yeah.
rehearsing.
Yeah. And start again. What do you love about performing? What is it about it that keeps you coming back? I know it's your job and your career, but there's something in you that wants to perform. What is that?
It's gonna get very psychological. Um,
Start with
so,
your childhood, Lila. What happened?
the people who knows me already, they know that I'm more like introverted person. Like I mean, I don't look like what I am on Instagram. I'm shy. I don't like so much to be the center of attention or in the spotlight. And I feel like maybe hooping was the only place where I felt like, oh, I'm doing something that, how to say, like that is special, or like people were looking at what I was doing. I'm like, wow. So it's definitely something related to um, people admiring what I'm doing. So probably when I was a child, I wasn't admired as much as I should. Sorry, my parents, but but yeah, this sense of like doing something great, but it's not like I am better than you. It's just like showing something and feeling appreciated for it, and inspiring people. I think the most crazy things is that I touch people by hooping, and not necessarily like I'm not trying to, it's just like being myself when I'm hula hooping or when I'm performing, when I'm smiling when I perform. I feel it touches people. So it's such an incredible feeling. So yeah, that's my little moment of shine,
Yeah, it's true. And you give that the energy and the joy that you feel gets transferred onto the audience, and then you inspire people both like online but also in your performances. I was going to ask you a question from Taylor Flows, actually, because yesterday I did a Q&A with her, which if you're watching here with Lila, you can go and watch that on my grid. And I asked her a question from you, and her question to you is, it's quite a broad question, so I don't know if you can do this, in full, but she asked, what is your process for choreographing a performance? Now, I think that's your whole workshop that you teach in my teacher training, but if you can summarize a little bit of how you would maybe start your process, what would that be?
I think to make it short, I'm not going to give like a proper answer, but what I would say that would introduce my workshop is that there could be different triggers. So there's not like one way of doing it, but sometimes I'm going to like hear a music and instantly I'm like, oh, I want to do an act on this music. So maybe the music is going to be the focus of the act. Or maybe I'm going to see something like a costume and I'm going to buy it and I'm like, oh, I really want to do something with it, but I don't know exactly what or when. It can take maybe a few years to have the idea. Or maybe an event, it's going to ask me like, can you do an act on that subject? Like a theme act. And I'm always happy to create something new, like a one-shot performance. So yeah, the way my process is very different depending on what kind of like started the idea, the seed, and then I'm trying to just like put all together. But for me in an act, there's the tricks, but it's not the most important part for me. It's like all the little other things, the costume, the music, the character, and everything.
And do you find that you have more like inspiration to create new acts when you have this period of rest like you have now? You're not corporate gigs all the time. Do you feel like things come to you more when you have downtime, or do you feel like it comes up more when you're, hula hooping and performing all the time and it sort of helps you think? What do you think happens? Or is it not sure?
I think it's better when I'm like when I am busy because I'm hooping all the time. So the more I hoop, the more ideas I have. Like in my downtime, I will more work on my costumes or on other things. But if I don't really play with the objects, it's hard to make it like real, you see.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've got a question from someone, Sarah. She's asking, well, she's got two questions. One is, what is your pre-performance ritual? So before you, I guess just before you go onto stage, what do you do to get yourself ready? And then the second question, which I quite like this question, how do you keep yourself looking happy while performing? I struggle with concentration face and I don't look like I'm enjoying myself. So two questions. What do you do before you go on stage? And then what do you do about the face?
So before I go on stage, I usually kind of like think about my choreo in my head because I mean in Paris very often you don't have like space in the green room to rehearse, and sometimes you don't even have the time to do a proper rehearsal on stage. So you probably like didn't even touch your hoop before going on stage, which is sometimes a little bit weird. So I prefer to have when when I have the space, I like to have just a flow. I don't necessarily have to rehearse the choreo, but like flowing with my hoop, kind of like freely. So when the hoop flies, I just catch like kind of like wake up my reflexes, something like that. I like, and when I don't have any space, I just do everything mentally, and I'm like people they see me behind, and I'm just like. I'm just like air hooping in my
Yeah.
head because I think I'm more like a mental person.
But I think
So
that's what
it's
professional sports people do that too. Like there is definitely like evidence to show that working it through in your head
and
mentally is increasing the
pilots as well.
dynamic. Mm-hmm.
And for the smiling, I'd say for me it's not that difficult because as you can see, I smile a lot naturally. So I never had to like think so much about it. But I would say that to me, it's not the fact that you don't smile, which is annoying as an audience. It's more the eye contact because there's tons of acts where you don't necessarily need to smile. You can be like badass or something. But what I get more annoyed when people are always looking at the hoop or like there's a wall between you and the audience. So I would suggest more like practicing as you hoop to look far the distance or look at the camera, but just not look at your hoop, don't look at what you're doing, which requires also to be very comfortable with your trick that you can execute them without looking at your hands and things. So I would focus more on the gaze.
You don't always have to, like you say, you don't always have to be making eye contact, but the choice is, it's a choice to gaze somewhere else rather than, I might make the decision to look at my hoop, but actually if I'm just unsure, that's when it looks a bit unconnected.
And I love when when people they just they drop or they mess up a trick and they have this little like smile or this little laugh. I find it so cute. I love it when people they just do mistake and they just smile like naturally and just like you have to enjoy yourself. Like you don't need to force the smile, but and think also about what you share because when we perform, sometimes I feel like we think so much about ourselves, and you need to shift this to thinking of a gift. You're giving your performance to the audience, so see this more as a gift. And to me, that's how I do it. Like to be smiling is because I'm happy to give something to the people rather than focusing on my own.
Absolutely. And I think it also comes with practice. When you've been hooping a longer time, I think, you get more comfortable with having, your face concentrating because otherwise, yeah, it can just feel like you drop into that concentration phase. We've got a question. I was wondering if you consider yourself a visual, kinetic, or verbal learner. How,
Mm.
how do you learn? By touch, by sight, by hearing? What kind of question, what kind of learning style do you feel like you are?
Um, I think I'm a visual learner, but I need explanations. Like I learn everything watching on YouTube. So, but I'm left-handed, which was really good for me because I was mirroring everything, and I felt it was much easier for me. But I still need explanation. I'm more like how would say mathematical, or like I need to understand the physics, and with the hands I need all the information. Like I need to know thumb up, thumb down. I really, when I watch a video, I'm like really looking at the position of the hand, the motion, the speed, all these little details. It's very important for me to learn a trick.
Yeah.
If I see, but also if the person is giving the right instructions, and I need all the details.
I totally agree. I feel like because I spoke a little bit with Taylor about this last night, the fact that everything is so condensed in this sort of modern social scrolling world, you get the tutorials that are 30 seconds or 20 seconds because that's what the algorithm wants to push out, but you don't get the detail that you want for like, I want to see that again or from the back. So I feel like we need more information in our tutorials.
Yeah, and as I said, like I'm left-handed, so I've been to so many classes where people they just don't even think about the left-handed people, and it's hard sometimes. Like we need to reverse everything. It's like a whole gymnastic in our head. So obviously for videos, it's hard to do all the tricks both directions. But yeah, it's very appreciated when people they do it.
We need justice for the left-hander people and the
Yeah,
opposite direction as
it
well.
makes you practice both direction and both hands. And for performing, and if you do doubles, it's really, really good to be able to do all the tricks in both hands. So if you're teaching, I really, really strongly suggest you to also teach for the left-handed people because it's going to actually make you better as well.
Well, bringing it back to my hoop teacher training, we definitely do a lot of that. That's one of my core things to drill into people. Both hands, both directions. Show it from the front, show it from the back, show it from the side, because that's how people learn. You've got to cater for everybody's learning style. Okay, we're going to finish up. I've got one last question for you, a surprise question. So I'll share mine first, but can you tell me what's the worst thing that's happened to you on stage? Have a think. My worst one, I think, was probably when I first started doing like kids parties and kids performance, and I was hula hooping, and I accidentally let go of the hoop, and the hoop hit the birthday child in the face. So the birthday child was crying, the parents were upset. I was like, oh my god, I've ruined everybody's life right now. So that was probably my worst moment. Have you got one that you could share to make me feel less worse about it?
I probably have a lot of like awkward moments. I don't know if I have like a worst one, but I did drop a fire hoop once, and fortunately it did not land on anybody. But I was like for a long time then I was scared of like throwing my fire hoop in the audience. Like I had already this idea, so it didn't happen, and it just like flew away, but it didn't hit anything. But then my mind automatically thought, like, what if I hit somebody? Because with the fire, it's like more scary. So that was a bad moment. But other than that, it's usually like costumes malfunctions,
Yeah.
like just
Something going wrong.
being having something on your neck and you just like I can't take it out, or just costume malfunctions, stuff like this, or like the hook dropping, like you have fishnets and you don't have the proper grip tape, and then you know how to do the trick, but then it just like slips all the time and you feel disappointed just because you picked up the wrong outfit.
Yeah, so always train your routines in costume. Don't put on a new costume and go out on stage. That is a good top tip. All right, thank you so much, Lila. Can you tell us, not to end on your terrible hooping moments, can you tell us where people can find you this year? Have you got things coming up where you'll be traveling, or are you mostly in Paris?
I'm staying in Paris because I have this like weekly gig now, and but I'm gonna be back teaching after the summer. So all the events have not been announced yet, so I'm not gonna say it. But for sure, Swoop in Bristol, early October, I will be teaching there, and a couple of others, but not too much. Like, I've been doing this teaching and performing for 10 plus years. So yeah, I had amazing years of like doing maybe 6 or 7 events a year. This year I'm taking a little bit more time, and I need to also see what are the new hoopers, what do they want from me, like how am I still relevant or not? I don't know, but I will see. And I don't want to rush. That's the thing. Like in my head, I need to think, because hooping is my main job. I cannot stop. I'm like, I have to think about hooping on a really longer scale. Like I want to be hooping for 10 years, 20 years, until when I'm going to be hooping. So if I have a lot of ideas, I should like spread them, like taking my time and not just trying to do all the things now. I want to be a 50 years old super badass hooper that still perform and teach.
As everyone's saying, you are relevant. So yeah, the comments agree. You're definitely still
Thank
relevant.
you.
We all love you. All right, thank you so much for chatting with
Thank
us.
you.
I just wanted to say to anyone who is interested, go follow Lila. You've got 2 accounts. You've got Lila Shopper Hoops and Lila Shopper Trains. Is that how we say it? Yeah. Yeah. So you can
No
follow
makeup
her.
videos.
Exactly. You've got loads of really amazing like tutorials, and I think is it your highlights that you have your hoop poses, so you can, if you're interested in looking good in your photos with hula hoops, she's got really amazing information there. And like I said at the beginning, if you guys are interested in my free hoop teacher training challenge, it starts tomorrow, so come and join that. Just comment challenge if you want to do from hoop lover to hoop teacher. And then on Monday is when my hoop teacher training launches, and that is where you will get the bonus workshop with Lila. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me, my love, and I will hopefully see you soon. Thanks everyone for joining us, and yeah, comment your questions below. Bye.
Bye.